In today's video, we get to show you Gavin Newsom losing his mind after the Department of Justice has announced they're sending election monitors to California and New Jersey. Also, the candidate running for Senate in Maine as a Democrat gets caught lying about his ignorance regarding his Nazi tattoo. So we'll show you what all sides are saying regarding these stories. But let's start with Gavin Newsom melting down.
And I was just on the line because the DOJ is being sent out to California to monitor our election. I have an election in November, Prop 50, a statewide election. They have no business, no jurisdiction to monitor it. And, forgive my behavior, but I have a Patriot site where I am now selling knee pads with Donald Trump's signature that I sent to some of my friends, corporate leaders here in California, that I'll be sending to the University of Virginia and their president, that I'm sending to members of the media. It's extraordinary what's happening in this country.
He's right about one thing. It is extraordinary what's happening in this country when a governor is spending time sending things and manufacturing things and creating a website like that, when he should be focusing on his own state and his elections. Now, we know California is as corrupt as you can get with the elections because, one, they don't require voter ID. In fact, it's against the law to ask someone for their ID when voting. And secondly, it's mail-in ballot. Everybody gets one, even if they don't want to. So it is smart from the Department of Justice to send people to monitor these voting sites. And that's why the announcement came yesterday, Justice Department to monitor polling sites in California and New Jersey. Now, this comes as, the GOP in both states have expressed their concerns for good reason. I just gave you two of them. And so they're sending it out in 6 jurisdictions. And the governor here, he's losing his mind. There's no question about it. Now, before we hear more from him and I show you which counties are going to get these officials, hear this take from MSDNC.
Election monitoring itself is not necessarily uncommon, but what is the justification? Because Trump claims there's rampant voter fraud, but the evidence does not support his claim.
I mean, these are the same people that had to stop this deal and said that they won the 20 elections. So you can't really take them seriously. I think typically this is something that the government and the DOJ have been doing for many years under many administrations. It just hits differently when this is a DOJ that is extremely political, has forced Texas into redistricting, has all these political prosecutions that they are mounting against folks. So it hits a little bit differently. And it's interesting because in 2024, when the DOJ said that they were going to do this, 3 red states said that they were going to sue, including Texas. But so it's okay when they go into blue states, but it's not okay when it goes into red states. And I think that is what should be concerning to people, that it's extremely political coming from this DOJ.
Well, let's just take her claim at face value and show you the evidence. This is from the Texas Tribune, dated November 1st of 2024. Texas withdraws requests to block U.S. Justice Department from monitoring states' elections. The federal agency agreed that their monitors would remain outside polling locations and wouldn't interfere with voting, which was the main concern. And it's the same concern, I'm assuming, for California and New Jersey. The fact of the matter is this has been happening for decades on end, going all the way back to the Voting Rights Act, and I'm going to show it to you here shortly. But let's circle back on which counties these officials are going to be monitoring. Passaic County in New Jersey, Kern County in California, Riverside County, California, Fresno County, California. That's actually where my wife and we just moved from. Orange County, California, and Los Angeles County, California. Okay, so having said that, here is more of Gavin Newsom melting down.
So today, the Trump administration announced they're sending election monitors to 5 specific counties here in the state of California. They have no business doing that. They have no basis to do that. In fact, we have a statewide election for a statewide constitution. This is about voter intimidation. This is about voter suppression, period, full stop. And it's a pattern, isn't it? It's consistent with what they've done with the federalization of the National Guard and the intimidation and the chill that's created. They'll do that right around Election Day as well.
Now, I think what's happening here from Democrats, because I have more clips to show you of them fear-mongering their base, claiming that President Trump is going to send the military to these voting booths, okay? Listen, the bottom line is it's pure projection. They are ignoring the problems they have in their own party. Just look at the screen here. It was announced this morning DNC continues to pay Kamala Harris's campaign debt almost 1 year later. You want to talk about fraud? You want to talk about intimidation? I think those are the things that went on during her campaign, if you guys catch my drift. Now, we only heard about this story because, again, as you guys know, when we go to produce this show, we like to see what both sides are saying. This is the #1 tool we use. And the interesting thing about this particular story is the fact that only the right-leaning sources in the media is covering this crazy update, if you think about it. I mean, the left is going to try to sweep this under the rug and continue to fearmonger their base while they have issues like this happening. But Gavin Newsom continues to go on.
Same thing with ICE and Border Patrol, masked men. Watch that space, showing up in and around polling booths and voting places. But this is a bridge too far. And I hope people understand it's a bridge that they're trying to build, the scaffolding for all across this country in next November's election. They do not believe in fair and free elections. Our republic, our democracy is on the line. We all need to wake up.
No, I actually agree with Gavin. The Democrat Party needs to wake up because you guys are still paying debts from the last election. Here's more information on that, by the way. And again, Ground News will pull in the articles. It'll pull in the title and the subtitle so you can get the bottom line information up front. According to American Faith, they say that $1.6 million last month was paid out to cover her debt, and the total amount so far is $20 million. So maybe what's happening here is that Democrats want to scare their base and have them distracted with that nonsense and not focus on the fact that they're still paying off Kamala Harris's debt. It's just craziness. But again, if you guys want to be able to get ahead of the stories like I did here, we haven't heard this on mainstream media yet. It's because we use Ground News to do our research. And I think it will benefit you if you want to be able to think for yourself. So if you want to use this tool for yourself, all you have to do is go to ground.news/Devori, or you could download the mobile app. Just use promo code Devori, and it's going to give you access to everything that I showed you in this video, including 40% off the Vantage plan.
Donald Trump knows that without shenanigans and without these breaches of the Constitution, that he's going to lose the Congress. And if he loses, he's going to immediately, in the aftermath of the election, do what he said he might do in 2020, which is use the military to confiscate the ballot boxes and count the votes, claiming that there's fraud.
What is happening has always been done. I'm showing it to you here on the screen. In November of 2024, the DOJ, not Trump's DOJ, Biden's DOJ, sent observers to 86 jurisdictions across 27 states, making the largest deployment in 2 decades. Now, isn't that interesting? What did Gavin Newsom have to say about that? Nothing. I bet he was silent as night. And that also includes J.B. Pritzker and the rest of the party. Because at the end of the day, we're going to continue to expose the hypocrisy, okay? I want you guys to be able to get the full picture, see what both sides are saying, and make up your own mind. If you're just listening to these clowns, it's so easy to get wrapped up in the propaganda. Now, let's go to this clip from Jack Ciattarelli. He is the guy running to be the next governor of New Jersey, a Republican. Here is his reaction, rooted in common sense, in regards to the election monitors. Take a look.
I got to ask you about this. Department of Justice sending election monitors to Passaic County, right here where we are. Republicans here locally complaining about a lack of transparency when it comes to counting mail-in ballots. Do you agree with them sending election monitors, and what is your message to voters who may be concerned about the integrity of this election?
If the party that's in control of any county is not worried about anything going wrong, why would they concern themselves with who's watching? This county does have a reputation for funky things going on around election time. If they're doing everything right, who cares who's watching?
But you believe this election will be done fairly and with integrity?
I do. At the end of the day, we have a very unique system here in New Jersey. 21 counties, each one has a board of election, and on each board is an equal number of Republicans and Democrats who oversee the counting of the votes.
Now, I love that reaction because honestly, that's the way it should be across this entire country. Just do it 50-50, okay? And let the federal authorities come in and they can observe and have it all on tape. And I mean, if we're not going to do paper ballots, right, as the president wants, then let's do it that way. Let's go all in on transparency, audio, video, federal authorities, 50-50. I think that's fair. But the only people obviously disagreeing with that are people that sound like to me have something to hide. And I know those people exist in California, no question about it. And that's why I always tell you guys, being from California, you're not going to catch me believing in having faith with that election system. I just don't think it's possible right now. I want to be wrong. We've just seen it firsthand. Okay. So at any rate, I think that's the bottom line to it. Gavin Newsom's continuing to melt down and project while DNC is still paying off Kamala Harris's debt. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so let's go to our next story, which is also interesting. So the guy who has a Nazi tattoo, running for Congress, Democrats are still defending this guy. It's so fascinating. But here's a problem. CNN is now exposing him for not being ignorant about that tattoo. Take a look.
Also tonight, a new K-file investigation uncovering deleted social posts that undercut claims by a Democratic Senate candidate in Maine. Graham Plattner, a Marine veteran, announcing this week he covered up a tattoo on his chest with Nazi imagery and claimed that he didn't know the meaning when he originally got that tattoo.
Well, Dana, we found old Reddit posts from Graham Plattner where he writes about the use of skull imagery in the military. It appeared on a thread about the Totenkampf, which is the Nazi version of the skull and crossbones, and it looks a lot like the tattoo that Plattner had on his chest. Now, someone on the thread brings up the fact that some Navy SEALs use a so-called Punisher skull as their emblem, and later Graham Plattner, under the username P. Hustle, writes, quote, "When I was in Ramadi in 2006 as a Marine grunt, the SEAL platoon we worked closely with for the deployment all had the Punisher skull spray painted on their armor carriers." So what this means is that he was in a Reddit thread where they are talking about the Nazi skull, Totenkampf, and the fact that the U.S. military also used skulls. This was 6 years ago, and it definitely raises some questions about his statement last week that he didn't realize that this was a Nazi symbol until very recently.
Okay, so let me just tell you guys what's going on here. Why is CNN running a story like this? Because they probably have already got the inclination, whether that was indirectly or directly, that this guy is fresh meat. Go ahead. You guys want to expose him? Go right on ahead. There's certain candidates that the DNC does not want to be exposed. I mean, this is the way politics works. So if they're running a story like this, best believe they've already given up on his campaign. That's really what's happening. But Democrats won't come out and say he needs to drop out. They just won't do that as a party. I mean, the fact that Jay Jones is still running proves that to us. But anyways, I just find it fascinating that this guy is claiming to be ignorant about a Nazi tattoo. Let's get real.
And you also talked to someone who knew Plattner who said they had spoken to Plattner years ago about that tattoo.
Well, yeah, that's right, Dana. We spoke to an acquaintance of Plattner's from more than a decade ago who says that Plattner actually spoke about his tattoo resembling a Nazi-style design at the time. We then spoke to someone the acquaintance told about this at the time. Then they actually showed us a text chain with talking to another person where they were discussing Plattner's Nazi-style tattoo long before that story even became public. That definitely undercuts, or certainly undercuts a little bit, claims that he only recently found out about it resembling Nazi imagery.
All right, guys, I'm dying here because you cannot make this up, okay? Just read this on the screen, okay? Because we're comparing here. United States President Donald Trump's nominee to lead a federal watchdog agency, Paul Ingrassia, withdrew on Tuesday following a report that Ingrassia described himself as having a Nazi streak. So he went onto social media, said, "Hey, I'm pulling my name for consideration because I do not have enough Republican votes at this time." Why won't Planter just do the same thing? Why won't Democrats just demand the same thing? So when they claim that Republicans are always supporting people who have some Nazi ties or say some racist things, that's false. We just saw what happened to the Young Republicans group that got disbanded and canceled and fired. But hey, it's okay if Planter continues to run. It's okay if Jay Jones continues to run, right? Even though he wants to see his political opponent assassinated. At any rate, I want you guys to watch this next clip because I think it's going to shock you. Take a look.
I think if this country is about anything, it's about understanding that every person, me, you, everybody else, has gone dark moments in our history, and we go on.
So you're standing by your endorsement?
Absolutely.
That's embarrassing. So, I'm sorry, that's embarrassing because, look, I understand that why the reason so many Democrats are holding the line is because they're looking at the Republicans and they're saying they always hold the line, and it doesn't matter how embarrassing, how awful their candidate is. And so they're saying we need to do the same thing. And I'm saying, no, don't do the same thing. That dude doesn't represent me. We need to assess our entire American political value system. Having a Nazi tattoo should be disqualifying. Period. End of sentence. This guy doesn't represent the values of the Democratic Party. He represents maybe the values of Maine, which is frightening enough. And I'm just saying that, I don't think the way that you return fire with the Republicans is by going as low and as ridiculous as they do. You can't stand yourself apart. You know what they say about arguing with a fool? From a distance, you can't tell who is who.
Well, there's no doubt that she is a fool, because I just gave you guys definitive evidence that shows that Republicans do not support when someone starts doing some Nazi stuff, okay? I mean, they canceled a young Republicans group, and this guy withdrew his name. This all happened in the matter of the last few weeks. But Planter's still running, Jay Jones is still running, and they have nothing to say. It's just interesting. And I'll give her a little credit. At least she acknowledges this guy has no business running. I'll give her that. And I'm really shocked, because when was the last time you ever agreed with Jamel Hill on anything? Okay, but let's go to this next clip. This is Scott Jennings, I think, dropping the bottom line. Take a look.
I hate to break the news to you, but he's winning the primary by 30 points.
Well, I think
getting
that's why
a
he
Nazi
needs to get
tattoo,
out.
Getting a Nazi tattoo made him more popular.
I don't think it made him more
popular among Democrats. You've got a guy running for attorney general in Virginia who wants to murder Republicans, and he raised $500,000 off
people
of
have
it.
also
You got
said-
Nazi tattoo guy in Maine. I sat out here for a year, 2 years, listening to every Democrat at this table say, Donald Trump's a Nazi, Elon's a Nazi, and your party is now in love with a guy with a Nazi tattoo who trained a left-wing paramilitary group and called himself an Antifa super soldier on the internet, and he's going up every day. Good luck getting him out.
Your president.
Good luck getting him
the
out.
person that you nominated.
Good luck getting him
pardoned 1,600 insurrectionists. I don't think the Republican
It's not
Party
gonna
has
work. You're not going to
room
wash
to
away
talk
the
right
Nazi
now.
tattoo with
I
your
am
old
not
talking
saying,
points.
and what
Not
did I
gonna
just
work.
say? What did I just say? I said that he should resign.
Good luck.
And I think that Democrats
So,
should
Scott,
all
are you making
speak
the
out
argument
that
that he
should
should stay in? You seem to be
Look,
very eager to defend his strength in the primary.
I am but a humble political analyst, and I will just tell you that when you're winning a race by 30 points, if a pundit on television tells you, well, you need to think about dropping out, you laugh in their face.
I don't know.
This is a year.
So bottom line here is we have two Democrat candidates, one who wants to see his political opponent assassinated, including his children, and one who covered up his Nazi tattoo. And both of them are still in the race, and Democrats collectively had not called for them to drop out. But if it was a Republican, we know they would have dropped out. We know the media would be obsessed with it. We've seen a Republican pull his name, and we saw the young Republican group get canceled in New York. So I think that tells you everything you need to know. Now let's go to our next story, which again is the media misleading its audience. ABC News decides to run a fake news story titled, "The President is going to name the ballroom after himself." Take a look.
So President Trump hasn't officially named his new $300 million ballroom, but senior administration officials are telling us it's likely going to be named after him. Officials already referring to it as the President Donald J. Trump Ballroom, and we're being told that that name will likely stick. Our ABC News chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce actually asked him about it yesterday. Take a listen.
Do you have a name for the ballroom, please?
Do I have a name for the
ballroom? What are you
I won't get into that now.
Trump is known for branding his construction projects after himself. Now it appears, well, it may live on forever there at the White House.
And, you know, he loves nothing more than seeing that last name on top of skyscrapers, also attached to watches, steaks, and other things that have had the Trump branding. So, Kira, it's perhaps not surprising that this would be the Donald J. Trump Ballroom, given that this was his idea. And the White House says he is going out and seeking the donations for the fundraising effort to bring in the $300 million for the cost of this ballroom. But as you noted, he is now bringing in more than that. The White House says $350 million has already been raised for a ballroom that is supposed to cost $300 million. The White House hasn't said, though, the difference in accounting there of what they're going to do with that extra money at this point.
Okay, just really quickly here. That is how disgusting mainstream media has become. That is poor reporting. You claim to be a journalist. Name your sources. Officials is not going to cut it. Okay. Now, the interesting thing is I have a clip to show you because the president did come out late last night on his trip to Malaysia, and he told us exactly what he's going to call it. And it's not going to be named after him. But before I show you that, just understand this. If the president raises $350 million and it only costs $300 million for a ballroom that's 90,000 square feet, why would that cost less than Barack Obama's basketball court that he put in the basement that came in at $376 million? Can you guys help me with the math on that? I'm not getting that. But here's what the president had to say.
Well, we've raised a lot. We've raised over $350 million. It's a beautiful room, a big room. I don't have any plan to call it after myself. That was expected. Probably going to call it the Presidential Ballroom or something like that. We haven't really thought about a name yet.
You guys heard exactly what he said. The Presidential Ballroom. Okay, coming from the horse's mouth. But that's not good enough for the media because as you guys can see on the screen, this is what they think is what's happening here. That's what they think is going to be the end result, that we're going to have a Trump Tower next to the White House, because just look at their coverage, their reaction. I mean, it's truly a fatal case of Trump derangement syndrome. And the other interesting thing here is that they're so fixated on the White House and these renovations, which we've already gone over the numbers. It totally makes sense. And they have nothing to say about the $1.1 billion project of the Capitol building in Sacramento, California. And of course, a representative out of California went on to CNN and reminded Dana Bash of that. Take a look.
Well, I'm sure that taxpayers are glad that, they don't have to foot the bill for this. In California, they're actually renovating our state capitol, and it's been closed down since 2022. The legislators actually are supposed to have their offices there, and they've been have to work
What about all
off-site.
these private donors?
I think that's fairly common for things like this. The inauguration tends to get a lot of private donors for that sort of thing. So that doesn't really bother me. I think it's better than taxpayers having to foot the bill, like they are in California at a cost of at least $1.2 billion. But, if this was the only thing the president was focused on, then maybe I'd say, okay, there are more important things. But he's doing a lot of other things as well. So, this one doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, nobody has a problem with this except the people who have Trump derangement syndrome and the people who are in a habit of having to react to everything that the president is doing or saying. And the reality about it is time is going to go on and there will be presidents that will be elected in the future and they will benefit from this ballroom. And whether they say it publicly or not, in their mind, they're going to say, oh, I'm so happy we have this ballroom. And the people who visit are going to be like, wow, this is a nice ballroom. And they're going to benefit from it. And the taxpayers did not have to fund it. And you know what's interesting as I put the bottom line on this? I guarantee you, I'm going to put a bet on the table here, that the ballroom will be finished before the Capitol building in California. Book it. All right, so let's hear from you guys in the comment section below. Do you support the idea of sending election monitors to these states during major elections at the state and federal level? Now, we know that under the Biden administration, he sent the most people in history. But it's interesting how the governor has forgot about all that. Let me know how you guys feel about that particular story. Secondly, the White House ballroom. I know it's probably a non-issue for you, but what do you make of ABC News blatantly lying about how it's going to be named? Okay, I found that to be interesting as well. And then finally, what do you make of the Nazi tattoo situation? Democrats refuse to get this guy to drop out of the race, and he's run it not for the House of Representatives, but for the Senate in Maine. Just give me your thoughts and everything you got in the comment section below. Now this takes us to our next video where the president made two major decisions yesterday. Number one, he slapped major sanctions on the president of Colombia and his family members. And two, they have deployed an aircraft carrier to the area of the Caribbeans in an effort to take out cartel members and narco terrorists. So if you guys missed out on that update and more from yesterday, all you have to do is click on that video because it's coming up right now.